Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about whether or not Bitcoin is actually going to be able to get above and break through key levels of resistance at the price levels in between about $6,500 and $6,600. There's a plethora of different technical indicators lining up to show that this is actually a rather strong and significant level and zone of resistance, and there's also a lot of indicators that are saying that if we get above this, it may be very, very bullish for the Bitcoin market. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing what the likelihood of Bitcoin getting above this level is and what the potential ramifications of a bullish break above it may be. But before we get into the video, as always, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. It does help out the channel if you do it, and I would be appreciative if you did it. But without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading at almost exactly $6,500 as of recording this video, and it's basically been trading sideways here for the last 24 hours or so, going up and down, up here to a recent high of around $6,600 and a recent low of around $6,350. Before we get on to the rest of the technical analysis, let's go ahead and do our crypto market recap. As we can see here on CoinMarketCap is for once agreeing with the chart on what Bitcoin's price action is, because we've seen in past that some of the APIs on different exchanges, when Bitcoin is moving very, very quickly, seem to glitch out, and CoinMarketCap might not be lining up with the charts, but today it is. Bitcoin's daily volume's hovering just a little over $4 billion. Not all that uncommon. That's a pretty normal figure for Bitcoin's daily volume, but definitely something that's a bit lower than average. And we're up by about 0.01% over the last 24 hours, which is why I said we've been trading sideways for the last 24 hours, even though we've had so much bullish and bearish price action, both of which coming in here in the last 24 hours or so. Ethereum has actually started to correct just a little bit. We saw Ethereum go up to around $220, I do believe it was, up here just a little over $220 actually, and we've seen it come down just a little bit in the recent hours, but Ethereum is definitely looking very healthy. We saw Ethereum come all the way down to around $167. If you guys are interested in my take on Ethereum, there's a video which you can watch in the top right, but Ethereum has been doing very well. This is about a 30% return in the last couple of days, up about a 32% return. Ethereum is definitely doing very, very well for itself. Over the last 24 hours, though, in a similar fashion to Bitcoin, it's basically just been trading sideways, down by about 1/5%, with a daily volume, which is actually looking pretty nice, of around $2.2 billion. If we look at the altcoin markets here, we're going to see that three cryptocurrencies, three altcoins are currently in the double-digit green. We have Archain, Maker, and Tezos doing pretty well, all of which are up about 15 to 20%. And if we sort by change over the last 24 hours for the negatives, Wax is down by 10%. But overall, the altcoin market is looking just a little bit more red than green, but we do see a little bit more green in the green category than we do in the red category, if that makes any sense. We see more red cryptocurrencies, but they don't seem to be as deep a red as we're seeing as deep a green on the rest of the altcoin market. But overall, the altcoin market is doing all right. We haven't really had a whole lot of trading happen in we haven't really had a whole lot of interesting price action happen in the last couple of days, but we have seen Bitcoin come up here and test its head against this level of resistance that we're going to be discussing in today's video. Not a whole lot we want to talk about Bitcoin dominance. Like I said, we've talked about that in previous videos, so feel free to browse the channel because I've talked about that in several different videos as of late. But one thing I do want to talk about is market dominance, because we are currently trading, or currently hovering, I should say, around $200 billion in market dominance. We did see total market capitalization come down here again to around $190 billion. And I say again because we saw the same thing happen back over here in mid-August, and here in mid-September, we're seeing the same thing happen. We're kind of setting a bottom down here, kind of maybe a double bottom on total market cap charts, if you want to call it that, which is definitely a bullish thing for Bitcoin. Not necessarily something that you want to write home about. It's not gonna end the bear market. It's not gonna kick off a new bull run or anything, but it is an indication that we may be seeing some kind of bottoming pattern form here, which would definitely make sense with what the Ethereum chart's been doing and with what Bitcoin has been doing here over the last week or so. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and start defining our terms for this video, because there's a lot of different reasons that we want to be talking about Bitcoin getting resistance in between the zone of around $6,500 and $6,600. So many, in fact, that I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle here to represent this zone of resistance. Right around here is the kind of resistance zone that we're looking at, and this is basically where we're talking. This is basically what we're talking about in today's video, this zone of resistance right here. If we come out to the daily chart, we're going to see several different levels of resistance lining up here, one of which is actually the 20 daily exponential moving average. Guys, I've talked about extensively for months now about how important the 20 daily exponential moving average is. Whenever we're above it, we're in an uptrend. Whenever we're below it, we're in a downtrend. And normally when you cross that, you change which direction the trend is going. And right now, in the last 24 hours or so, Bitcoin has actually gotten a rejection here. We saw a candlestick, or excuse me, we saw a wick come up here and touch the 20 daily exponential moving average and get resistance off of it. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to get above the 20 daily exponential moving average, but for the time being, we have rejected get off of it, and the 20 daily exponential moving average is also curving downwards, and we are seeing it move down further into this zone of resistance, which is likely going to mean that it's going to be even easier to break in the coming days and weeks. The next level of resistance that we want to talk about is not just $6,500 to $6,600. We're going to come back to that, but I do want to talk about what's going to happen after we break that, because I do think we're going to break it. One thing we also have to talk about is the level of resistance of $6,800. If you guys remember back to a couple months ago, back over here in June and July, $6,800 was a very, very important level. If we draw a little line here, we can see that it was the neckline of this inverse head and shoulders pattern, which we saw over here. Get our brush out. We saw an inverse head and shoulders pattern forming right here, and it was the neckline. And we did see a lot of trading around it right here, although it doesn't show up very well on the daily chart. There was a lot of trading around that level right here, and when we broke above it here, it was very bullish for the Bitcoin market. And it also happens to line up with several different moving averages, with the 20 daily simple, the 100 daily simple, and the 50 daily simple all converging down here and curving down towards the current zone of resistance that we're looking at. All of these levels of resistance, all of these moving averages, and several more that I'm about to show you are all going to be daunting for Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin can get above them, and if Bitcoin can get above $6,800, which would indicate a break of all four of these moving averages, it would be very, very good, and we would likely see Bitcoin coming up here to test $7,400 again. With that said, let's go ahead and back to the little zone of resistance that we're currently talking about in between $6,400 and $6,500. There's a very interesting thing on the Fibonacci retracement levels that we want to look at with this as well. If we come over here and grab our Fib retracement, drag it from the top all the way down to the bottom, then what we're also going to see, interestingly enough, is that we have a Fibonacci level playing here with the 32.8% retracement level coming into effect right here around $6,600. And as you can see, this right here, this little area right here is where that wick is on the daily chart, and that is where Bitcoin came up here and got resistance and rejected for the short term anyway off of the level of resistance around $6,600. So we basically laid out all of the levels of resistance that we're looking at. We're looking at a Fibonacci level. We're looking at a big even of $6,500, which, as you can see, we're hovering at exactly right now. We're looking at several different moving averages that are giving us resistance right now, and we're looking at a couple of other things that I'm not going to be getting into in today's video, but we are in general looking at quite a bit of resistance in this zone. So let's go ahead and talk about whether or not Bitcoin is actually going to break $6,500 to $6,600, this zone of resistance, because it's a very important thing. Because I want to talk for a second about the way that this bear market has been playing out, and then roll it back into what we're talking about here. What we've seen for the majority of the 2018 bear market is that Bitcoin has had a downtrend, followed by an uptrend, followed by a downtrend, followed by an uptrend, and we see the market going through these swings. We see the market going through these market cycles, and that's exactly what you normally see in any market. That's typically how a market works. I don't necessarily think that trend is going to continue in the same way that we've seen, where we continue setting the same bottom and a lower high, because it just can't keep happening, because eventually it's just going to end up that we're going to be asymptotically trading sideways for the rest of time. I don't think that's what's going to happen, and I discussed how I believe that we're going into a new accumulation phase in a video that I uploaded recently, which you can watch in the top right if you're interested in my longer term take on the market. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is because I don't necessarily think that we're going to see the same thing happen here, which kind of contradicts my other point, and that is that I do think we're going to break this zone of resistance. So I'll come back to what I just said in just a second, but let's talk about whether or not we're going to break this zone of resistance. I do think for the short term that we are going to break this zone of resistance, and Bitcoin is going to be back above $6,600 in the next 72 hours. That's my call. I'm giving that about a 70% likelihood. I do think that that's quite likely. We see reasons for that on the stochastic RSI. The stochastic RSI is starting to curve back up, moving back towards overbought territory, which is actually a bullish thing. We see a potential MACD cross coming. We can see right here. We have a daunting MACD cross. Not daunting isn't the right word, but we have a MACD cross coming up here in the next couple of days, most likely. We can see on the MACD that the histogram, let's go ahead and not do that, but let's go ahead and get the MACD up here. We can see the histogram is starting to curve up here. This is the middle line here. That is called the histogram, and as we can see, the bars are coming back up here closer to the zero level, which means the MACD line is getting closer to the signal level, which means that we're going to be expecting some kind of bullish cross on the MACD in probably the next 3 days or so, which of course is a very bullish thing for the Bitcoin market. Also, we have all of these levels of resistance that already look like they're going to be broken, simply because we've already just broken out of a consolidation pattern, which is very visible here on the 4-hour chart. We saw Bitcoin break out of this consolidation pattern right down here, and it's been moving up ever since. There are a lot of reasons to believe that we're going to be breaking this level of resistance, and like I said, I give it about a 70% chance that in the next 72 hours, Bitcoin will be trading above $6,600. As always, is there a possibility that Bitcoin does not do that? Absolutely. Subtract 70 from 100, or subtract 100 from 70, however you do math. I don't know what math is. There's about a 30% chance, in my opinion, that that doesn't happen, but I think it's more than likely that we're going to see Bitcoin above $6,600 in the next 72 hours or so. From there, what do I think is the likelihood that we get above these other levels of resistance that I see up here around $6,800? Well, I'm not as keen to go ahead and answer that, but I think it's more than likely. I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but I think it is more than likely that Bitcoin does get above these levels and gets above $6,800 for the same reasons I've just outlined, having to do with MACD and stochastic RSI, and the fact that RSI is starting to curve up. And overall, it seems like a lot of the people that were very, very scared of the market don't seem to be as scared anymore, or at least they're being quiet as far as I can judge by my comment section anyway. There doesn't seem to be as much FUD in the market, and I do in general get the gut feeling that we are going to be moving up here for the next couple of days. Anyway, tell me in the comment section down below what you think about that technical analysis. Do you think Bitcoin is going to be moving up from here, and do you think that we're going to be breaking above $6,600? If we do break above $6,600, do you think there is a good possibility that we break above $6,800? And also, I want to throw one more question back to you guys. What do you think happens if we break above $6,800? Because if we break above $6,800, that is a break of just about every single moving average on the daily chart that we've been looking at, except for the 200 daily simple moving average, which is sitting up here kind of taunting us because we need to get back up above that to hopefully kick off a new bull run. Do you think if we get above $6,800, we're going to go up and test $7,400, our recent high right here? What do you think, guys? As always, I'm interested to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. Now, going back to the one thing that I talked about just a second ago about why I'm not so keen to think that the same kind of trends that we've been seeing play out in 2018 may continue to play out, that being these kind of market cycles where we come down and test $6,000 and then go up and then have another rally to a lower high. I don't think that's necessarily going to continue just because it just can't keep continuing, because if it keeps continuing, look, what we saw with this run up here to $7,400 is that we actually hit, I believe it was a 61, actually, well, it was kind of close to a 61% level here on the Fibonacci levels. We can see 61.8% retracement level. That's about where we got resistance right here. And if we keep doing that, because if we also drag Fibonacci out here and we drag Fibonacci over here, then we see a very similar thing. Bitcoin ran up to around the 61.8% Fibonacci level here. If we keep doing that ad infinitum and we just keep doing that forever until this bear market hopefully wraps up, Bitcoin is just basically going to end up trading sideways, because if we shave off, 38.2% of the market value every time, and we just set a new high here, and then a new high here, and then here, and then here, and then here, Bitcoin is asymptotically going to approach $6,000, and it's either going to break $6,000, or it's going to break market structure and set a new high, which will kick off a new bull run, at least help with a new bull run. So I don't think this kind of thing is going to continue. I think what's most likely, like I laid out in a video that I linked in the top right, talking about why I believe we're entering a new accumulation phase and why the bear market is over, I do think what we're going to see is that Bitcoin's going to be trading sideways, and these kind of up and down market swings that we've seen just kind of plaguing 2018, not plaguing 2018, I shouldn't say plaguing because they're actually very profitable. These kind of market cycles that we've seen so much in 2018 aren't going to continue in the same mannerism. Also because, like I talked about in yesterday's video, we're looking at a lot of volatility dropping off. We're looking at a lot of people leaving the market. We're overall looking at the market contracting as this bear market, I believe, wraps up and we start moving into the accumulation phase, where the smart money like myself and you are starting to get into our positions, getting ready for the next bull run. But anyway, guys, like I said, go ahead and tell me in the comment section down below what your opinions on the technical analysis is today. One thing I want to say before we wrap up is something to do with the shorts chart. We have seen shorts stay up here around 35,000 shorts for quite some time. We haven't seen shorts stay up this far for this long, really ever. Bitcoin shorts have been up to this level once before, back over here in early April, and we saw a gigantic short squeeze. We did see shorts just go and fall off a cliff here for a little while, but for the last couple of days, for the last week or so, Bitcoin shorts have been up here quite overbought, if you want to call it that. That's not the right term, but it conveys the meaning I'm trying to give. We've seen Bitcoin shorts up here quite heavily, and what I think is more than likely going to happen, we'll use this as the coup de grace for the video, is that if Bitcoin does break resistance up here around $6,800, I think that's probably going to trigger some kind of short squeeze, which could potentially bring us up to or above $7,400. That's just one scenario with not a whole lot of data to back it up just yet, because we're not there yet. But I would love to hear your opinions on that in the comment section down below as well. But anyway, guys, I hope you got some information out of this. I hope you got some information out of this video. One more thing I want to talk about is that I have just recorded several more videos for the course, and one of the reasons I was using Fibonacci so much in this video is because I just recorded a Fibonacci video for the course. The course is going to be launching very, very soon. I'm going to keep the deadline to myself in case I don't meet it, but it is coming up very, very soon. Definitely get your hopes up, because I think it is going to be good, and I am very happy with the product so far, and it is looking to be a good product. But anyway, guys, like I said, that is going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.